And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my peepo. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these wonderful stories every day. Now, y'all, we talked to you about this second judge, this Boston judge, who also was arrested for helping someone who's in the country without permission escape from her courtroom. Now, this happened before the Wisconsin judge, Miss Dugan. This happened years ago during the first Trump administration, and the judge was arrested. She's been going through all kinds of legal processes, and this is ongoing with recent developments. So in today's video, you are going to see the most recent developments. You're going to see she might even lose her license, y'all. You're going to see exactly where this stands, and you're going to see this maybe as a harbinger or a foreshadowing for what might happen to Miss Dugan. So this is still ongoing, like 6 years or 7 years later. You're going to see an explanation of how does she explain trying to help someone without permission to be in the country escape through the back door of her courtroom when people normally go out the front door. You know, that's just the norm. You're going to see that in this video. And also, after you see the report, for those of you who didn't get the full picture, who don't remember the first video, I am also going to flash back to that first video so you can get more details and so that you can get more context as to just what happened. But y'all, really the point here is that what happened with Miss Dugan, this is not the first time. And frankly, it might not be the last time, because we have at least 2 scenarios where a judge has been arrested for helping somebody who's in the country without permission sneak out through a back or side door. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, y'all, make sure you take care of your money. I'm not gonna make this a long one, y'all. Go to Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com, or call 844-651-8334, 844-651-8334. If you have $50,000 to $100,000 or more in your retirement, protected from inflation, protected from monetary debasement, you're about to retire. Make sure your money's still there and it's still worth something by investing at least some of it in gold. Talk to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals. Go click the link now, get the free information, and protect your precious retirement.
Right now, the prosecution is putting up its case against Judge Shelley Joseph. And today we heard from another witness who was in that Newton courtroom that day.
Misjudgment, misguided, attempted to do what they thought was right.
A former prosecutor testifying about what she heard on a fateful day back in 2018. Judge Shelley Joseph is charged by the state's Commission on Judicial Conduct for her alleged role when a defendant went out the back door of the Newton Courthouse, avoiding ICE agents waiting in a front hallway.
It was a very unusual day, and the ICE officer was very upset. It was not, an individual was let out the back door, and it was something that I felt I needed to report to my supervisor because I was uncomfortable with what had happened.
That defendant's attorney testified yesterday it was his plan to have his client leave out the back with the help of a court officer. David Jelinek asked Judge Joseph to allow him and his client, plus an interpreter, to return to lockup after he was released. An unusual move.
The defendant went down the hallway, took a right. The door was open for him, and he went out the back door.
Joseph's attorneys argue she was not aware of any plan to dodge ICE agents.
If somebody in that courtroom had said either at sidebar or out loud, we've made a decision that he's going to go out the back door, that's the kind of thing we remember, isn't it?
Yes.
Did that happen?
Not to my memory.
Now, there's also a focus on a courtroom sidebar that was off the record. It was not recorded. It lasted about 52 seconds, but so far, none of the witnesses privy to that sidebar have said anything about Judge Joseph directing any part of the plan to allow the defendant to go out the back door. Live at the Suffolk Courthouse, Sarah Conji, WCVB News Center 5.
All right, so now you see where things stand, but let's do a quick flashback so you can see how all of this got started. We talked about this in our video a few weeks ago. Let's take a look. There is a Boston judge who in 2018 allegedly helped a person who's in the country without permission sneak out of the courtroom while ICE was trying to detain him. Does that sound familiar? Do you know that there's a Wisconsin judge who's facing criminal charges right now for the pretty much the exact same reason? And there's a Boston judge who in 2018 caught this kind of case. So let me get this straight.
District Court Judge Shelley Joseph leaves a federal courtroom emotional. The victim, her lawyer says, of a politically motivated prosecution.
Shelley Joseph is absolutely innocent.
A federal prosecutor said the judge and her court officer, Wesley McGregor, helped an undocumented immigrant sneak out a back door at the Newton Courthouse last year to avoid an immigration officer waiting in the lobby.
This case is not about immigration. It is about the rule of law.
The undocumented immigrant had been deported twice before and was in court on a drug charge and a fugitive from justice charge. Court documents show his attorney, the prosecutor, and the judge had concerns he had been misidentified by federal authorities.
There's really no way to explain the decision to bring this case except the politics of the Trump administration.
And this judge, this Boston judge, is finally about to face a public hearing for allegedly helping this undocumented migrant sneak out of her courtroom to dodge ICE back in 2018. Okay, so let's break this down. Her name is Judge Shelley Joseph. She's sitting on the Boston Municipal Court, and she's going to be headed to a public hearing on June 9th for what they're calling willful judicial misconduct. Now, what is she accused of having done? She's accused of having helped Jose Medina Perez, twice deported, y'all. This is a person who had been deported twice, suspected of, slanging packs, as some people might say. She's suspected of helping him slip out the back door in her courtroom to avoid ICE agents who were there with a detainer for him.
The ACLU calls the prosecution an assault on justice, but federal authorities say the judge broke rules by stopping a court recording and telling that immigration officer to leave the courtroom and wait in the lobby.
I've heard the occasional gasp of dismay or outrage at the notion of holding a judge accountable for violating federal law. But if the law is not applied equally, it cannot credibly be applied to anyone.
Now, the Massachusetts Attorney General has come out strongly against this prosecution. The judge has now been suspended as the case moves forward.
So I showed up and judge like, nah, you can't take this guy. It literally sounds almost exactly like what we're seeing here in Wisconsin.
Good evening. We start tonight at 6 o'clock with the Wisconsin Supreme Court suspending a judge accused of helping a man evade federal immigration agents. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested last week, accused of ushering the man through a side door away from agents. He was later taken into custody. In the order today, the court says it's in the public interest to temporarily relieve the judge of her duties.
And similar to the current case, right? A Trump-appointed U.S. attorney hit Judge Shelley Joseph with federal charges. This was in 2019 for obstruction of justice. So this is nothing new, y'all. Okay, what we're seeing in Wisconsin is nothing new. Obstruction of justice and conspiracy, the whole nine. All right. But under the Biden administration, the charges were dropped in 2022. Now, did Biden have anything to do with it? Well, apparently they say, look, we'll just let the state deal with it. So now it's going to a state entity, the Massachusetts Commission on Judicial Conduct. So that's a body that it's going to operate with a different level of energy, so to speak, than federal prosecutors. Now, I will remind you that Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan is currently suspended. She was suspended just yesterday by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. We did a story on that, of course. She was suspended by the Wisconsin Supreme Court, supposedly, I presume, while this entire criminal case of hers unfolds, and she hired a conservative attorney to help with her representation, an attorney who doesn't seem to be very friendly with Donald Trump, even though he is on the conservative side. This guy is deep with the Supreme Court, though, having argued 100 cases before this. Is that even possible? He's probably one of the most experienced people in the world right now. So what's going on with letting guys slip out of the back door, people? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all, do we live in a simulation, people? Have any of y'all ever thought like we might actually live in a simulation? Like this might not all be real. Like there might be some entity out there controlling all this, or it's like a video game almost, you know? And like they run out of storylines, so they just repeat the same one. Like, hey, we need a judge to do something. Have somebody run out, have them help somebody run out the back door. Yeah, we already did that years ago. Do it again. Just do it again, you know? Anyway, y'all, I'm on a little bit of a rant, but I just kind of can't believe this. Of course, I'd like to know what my people think. So, y'all, Trump is going after these judges for doing this sort of thing, and Biden, in the meantime, was saying, we'll let the states handle it. Should this be a federal issue? Should this be a federal crime? If it should, do you think that these judges should actually be prosecuted and face jail time? Or do you think that this maybe should be referred to a state body, maybe a judicial ethics committee or something along those lines for that kind of penalty, like an ethics penalty, but not a criminal penalty? I would like for y'all to let me know, but my mind blown that this same thing happened years ago and it's coming back up in the news now because this judge is about to go and face potential consequences. I'd like to know what y'all think. Of course, please leave a comment below, but before you do, please hit that share button and put in somebody's Facebook, email, text message, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, all of the social mediums, and send this. Wouldn't other people, don't you think people should know about this? That this keeps happening? I think people should know. Help let them know. Help spread the word. Thank y'all for watching. I want to say that I love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.